That's key. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Because I said they encoded this thing and showed you how to master these things. But let me show you what it says in Mark 9:21. It says a desperate and lonely woman who had been ill for years came to Jesus for healing. Listen to this, Rich. For she said, where? Within herself. Huh? If I may touch his garment, I shall be whole. So she had an inner conversation, didn't she, Rich?
Yeah.
She had a conviction in her own mind of what she thought was possible. See, Jesus Christ just represents the ultimate placebo.
Facts.
That's it. And when you read the placebo case studies, you see it says it. The placebos work better for the people who actually believe their doctor is a great doctor. The impact is better. They have a higher rate with the placebo if they really think their doctor is the bomb.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You see? So here's another example of this. Here's Ezekiel 8:7-10. Let's read this. And he brought me to the door of the court. And when I looked, behold, a hole was in the wall. Now, let me tell y'all, this is descriptive writing. Don't think that it was some people going down in a hole in the wall somewhere. This is where you start to peel the layers back when you have the wisdom to understand what you're reading. It's like secondhand to me. I go through these stories and it pops in right away what they're saying. Then it says, then said he unto me, son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, it was a door. And he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do there. So I went in and I saw and behold every form of creeping things and abominable beasts and all of the idols of the house of Israel. Now let me tell y'all what they're getting at here. Let me tell you something. Because they preface this verse by saying they think we don't see what they're doing down there in that place, in that wall, behind that door. It says they don't think that we see what they're doing. Let me tell you what they're referencing. Your subconscious mind sees everything you're doing. That wall that they talking about, yeah, that's penetrate that conscious mind, and then a little door that's hiding behind that wall, where you got to go in through a crack and crevice. And then when you go down there and look, it's all kind of wicked stuff in there. You hating on this person, you're jealous of that person, you're envying that person, you resent that person.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking all bad about yourself. You ain't forgave yourself for this. You walking around with shame. You walking around with, you got all these abominations, these creepy, crawly things. Are down here in the basement of your mind. And you wonder why you can't turn over your good soil so that you could reap your harvest. You can't grow nothing in bad soil. So they're telling you, listen, and this is when the verse that says, for every idle word that man shall speak, he shall give a account thereof on the day of judgment. Let me tell you, idle means the kind of stuff that you just say and you just kind of let it slip on by. You think you know, throughout the day, you probably saying all kind of stuff to yourself that you don't think really important. Oh, no. You must guard your gates to the best of your ability, because all of those little conversations that you got running in your mind gonna show up as a person, place, event, or circumstance at some point. And because you're not mindful of what you've been thinking, when it does show up, you can't even recognize your own harvest. So then you go blaming somebody else for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So look, self-talk. Let's read this, Jew. Because see, I ain't coming in here without no receipts. I'm going to go through that scripture, but I'm going to give y'all the science. 72 tennis players participated in an experiment involving self-talk, y'all. Only the players who engaged, now listen, they said only. They didn't say some. They said only. That's specific. Only the players who engaged in self-talk showed improvements in confidence and reduced anxiety. Check this out. The self-talk also improved their games. Huh? Psychology of Sport Exercise. If you want to go fact check me and check my sources, I encourage you to do it. January 2009. So it's just not philosophy, people. It's just not a deep conversation. It's real, very, very real, tangible, quantifiable, measurable. Right? Here's another example. So like I said, all that stuff, the creepy, crawly stuff down there in the mind, your subconscious triggers are way more powerful than what the surface mind is processing in the current time or in the current moment. So you got to be careful about what you're depositing there. Right? Unconscious modulation of conscious experience of voluntary control. Cognition 2007. Just giving y'all receipts. So some of the things that I've said, you can actually go do your due diligence and read it for yourself, because that's what's going to sure you up. You can hear me talk, and you may say, Jude's a great speaker. He's intelligent. That's cool. But I'm not doing it for that, man. I'm doing it so people can have their own flowers. I done a lot of the leg work, and I don't mind sharing what I've learned over these years so that you can get it and that you can become the best version of yourself. But a lot of times you need the analytical stuff too, because sometimes you may struggle with applying a right brain practice where you're like, wait a minute, man, I'm just doing these visualizations. I really don't know. I'm doing these incantations. I really don't know. I'm writing these I am statements. I really don't know. So I want to reassure you by giving the logical brain enough information to keep it at bay. See, this is the real science behind Moses and Aaron. Huh? See, Moses was right brain depiction, doing all the miracles, hidden stones and water coming out, splitting Red Seas with sticks, doing all this type of stuff, clouds falling, descending, doing all that type of stuff. But they said what? They said that Moses had a speech impediment. See, these boys was clever, man. They were trying to tell you that this force or this side of the equation doesn't deal with the verbal, doesn't deal with the analytical, like the way the left temporal lobe does. But they said Aaron was what, Rich? He was a masterful speaker. Man, listen. Right? So anyways, here's another tip for people who may be struggling, right? Because I'm not here to pass judgment on people, but I know people may be struggling with certain things. I see it all the time on my membership. That's what I'm coaching people to success for, to help them get over the hurdles. But the thing is this here. Here's a little tip. This is how you stop being so hard on yourself. When you're going through a situation, your back may be up against the wall. Listen to this, people. Third person talking, because we talking, self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? Third person talking helps reduce the stress of any situation. Whether painful or disturbing, third person self-talk helps us view ourselves as we see others. Our brains processes the experience as an external one and minimizes the impact on our ability to shift through the negative emotions. Scientific Reports 2017, where this was published. So this is how this works. And we did this in our 21 days of journaling practice that we did late last year, where I had people say, look, whatever traumatic experience that you went through in your life, write about it in your journal in third person. Oh man, they had a thrill and they were filled with joy, Rich. And they had so much baggage released from them when they did this. Mm-hmm. They were like, oh, you know, I remember when Susie was going through that struggle in that relationship. Or I remember when Dave was in that terrible car accident, even though they're Dave and even though they're Susie. They spoke about it as if it was happening or happened to someone else. You see? So these are the little hacks that we need to have on this journey so that we don't have to be like these people in the Ezekiel verse where we stuck putting all of these abominations down in this subconscious basement or writing it on that wall. We find a way to minimize the impact by having these little hacks available so that we can keep our subconscious mind fertile grounds instead of wastelands and deserts, right? So here's another one. I talked to you the other day about questions, right, Rich?
Right, right.
Let's read this because this is a major hack. Listen to this. Behavioral scientists have also found that just asking people questions or just asking people about their future decisions significantly influences those decisions, a phenomenon known as the mere measurement effect. Sounds like that sounds like some quantum stuff because you know in quantum physics they tell you it's they call it the measurement problem. Back in 1993, social scientists Vicky Moritz, Eric Johnson, and Dave Schmetterling conducted a study with more than, now this ain't no small study, y'all, 40,000 participants that revealed that simply asking someone if people were going to purchase a new car within 6 months increased their purchase rates by 35%. Just by asking the question. So y'all know what y'all should do? You should start waking up in the morning and ask yourself, you know, what would it be like? What would my day be like if I came across a new client? What would I feel like if my bank account had $5,000, $10,000 more dollars? What would I feel? Start to ask yourself in questionary form. What would it feel like to drive that brand new BMW, Jew? Start to talk to yourself in this way, and I'm going to show you why. But listen, inquiring your way to influence. Listen, so why do questions have such influence on the decision-making process? First and foremost, they prompt the brain to contemplate a behavior, which increases the probability that it will be acted upon. Listen, what are they telling you? A question is causing a change in behavior. What does that mean? A change in habit, a change in outlook, a change in possibility, which now has you stepping into a new version of yourself. And now you're doing what scriptures say, putting off the old man or the former conversation, simply by asking yourself a question. In fact, decades of research have found that the more the brain contemplates a behavior, the more likely it is that it will engage in it. That's not all. Just thinking about doing something can shift your perception and even alter your body chemistry. Shout out Jewel Pookrum.
Indeed.
For instance, imagine sipping some lemon juice, right? And they just kind of get into the idea, right, about what that looks like. But let me show y'all. Y'all might say, I'm going to take y'all back to this book. Take y'all back to this computation. Look at. So we're looking at question, right? These are some of the entries in scripture for the word question. And then they give you the entry 1696 for one of the entries, and it is the bar. Now let's look at this. Now this is the Hebrew word for question. Look at the entries here, Rich. To subdue. Huh? What you mean? What's being subdued? Now look at this. To answer. How the hell does a question, the definition for the question, for the word question is actually answer? What are they telling you? The question is going to prompt the answer. Look at this one. To command. To rehearse. So when you start to ask yourself these questions, you know what you start to do? You start to go through these mental pictures and start to rehearse in your mind what you may do, what you would do, simply because you asked yourself a question about it.
Right.
See, a lot of these science boys, right? Paul Dirac, Niels Bohr, Einstein, to name a few. Y'all do know that all of these famous theories that they came out with that describe the nature of reality, y'all know these things all came by way of deep questioning. And they'll tell you, as far as Einstein is concerned, multiple of his theories came by way of visualization exercises. Go do your study on it. You go find out about it. It's there. But the moment you start to permeate the mind to even contemplate the idea of, it propels you to act. Okay? So here's an example, right? Because hey, shout out Monica if you in the chat tonight. Shout you out. It's one of my members. Look, because see, we put this thing to practice. Great afternoon, Minister Jew. So I casually inquired on last week about a certain position and asked a few questions about it. I then said to myself, here go this self-talk and this question, wouldn't it be nice if I can transition into that position? Well, I got a call on yesterday from HR with an whole offer. I didn't even have a formal interview or anything. She says, yeah, there's a $6,000 increase to the position, but I was able to get an additional $2,000, so it's $8,000. Then I left out for my daily workout to return to see the money magnet t-shirt in the mailbox. But this is how we get down. That would have looked like in real time. You see what she's putting all the principles together. She's becoming the living word. Right? So now let's talk about the power of your pen, because we talking about writing too, right? Writing your own Bible, right? So what we gonna do? We gonna write our own prophecies then, because that's what basically the book is showing you how to do. How to be. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I said, oh, here, come on, bring it on.
Could be prophetic, huh? Well, let me show you how to put your pen to use. Right? I want to show y'all how powerful this thing is. I want to show y'all. So on the right is a book by Edgar Allan Poe called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of the Nantucket. Huh? Name of the book. Allan Poe wrote this book in 1938. He wrote it as if the story was true. In the story, a ship lost at sea with 4 crew members ran out of food and decided to eat a young cabin boy, whose name in the book was Richard Parker. 46 years later, a young man involved in a disaster at sea gets eaten by his crew members, and his name is Richard Parker. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Those were the last words uttered by the Christ on the cross. I completely understand why. See, we don't know how powerful we are. Here it is, a story wrote in fiction. Whole story played out. The name of the boy in the fictional book is Richard Parker. 46 years later, see, listen, scripture tells us in the book of Habakkuk, if it be long, wait. See, when you got to have these many moving parts, it's going to take longer for the wave to collapse. But this is how it works. And here's the case. Her Majesty the Queen versus Tom Dudley and Edward Stevens. Real case, 1884. They go to citations. Lord Coleridge, Lord Chief Justice, the judges, they show you. Dudley and Stevens were shipwrecked along with 2 other men. When one of them, the cabin boy, Richard Parker, fell into a coma. Dudley and Stevens decided to kill him for food. So they played on this story and put it in a motion picture called The Life of Pi, but they named the tiger in the movie Richard Parker. You remember seeing this, Rich?
Indeed, yep.
So again, as I say, everything can be reverse engineered.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got to learn how to use your pen. What Jigga say on the Lupe joint? So the pen is mightier than the sword, my lord.
Mm.
Right? Here's another example. A July 1990 comic strip in Heavy Metal magazine featured a controversial wall in New York City built by Donald Trump and the populist rise to power by the future president. Is it true? Of course it was. In September 2017, there was a renewed interest in the 1990 comic strip by the artist Peter Cupper, which appears to preempt current events by featuring the construction of a large controversial wall by Donald Trump